Hey, Billy the Bake here. I'd like to tell you the story today of Mr. Ssrings. But first, I guess, let me introduce myself and the channel a little bit. I've been in recovery since 1988, and that doesn't make me any better, faster, stronger, smarter, or prettier than anybody else. What it does mean is I've had my leather ass sitting in a folding chair in a church basement drinking substandard coffee for a long time, and I've got to hear what works for folks and what doesn't. And more importantly, I've got to make a lot of mistakes, learn a lot of things the hard way. I really believe that anybody who has worked the steps with a sponsor, gone through them, as described in conference-approved literature, and had that result in their lives, pretty much, they're as equipped as I am, they're as qualified as I am to carry the message of recovery. Excuse me. The one thing that makes me special is the fact that I showed up young. I showed up really arrogant and full of myself and stubborn. I learned a lot of things the hard way. There were a lot of mistakes made and lessons learned. In fact, I've got a 4-part series in the works about 4 of the really I would say limiting beliefs, poorly functioning ideas. I guess that's the kind of way of putting it. Anyway, some of the beliefs and ideas that I had, the problems they caused me, and what course corrections I made turned it around and got things on the right track. Sometimes it took an embarrassingly long time to do so. This channel is not about me looking good and sounding good. Well, obviously I have a face for radio. I get tongue-tangulated and I do these Shatner-esque pauses, and I would ask you to bear with. Anyhow, this channel, we're going to be talking about recovery, spirituality, and maybe some tangents about maybe some sleep protocols, nutrition, exercise, meditation, things that we can use to benefit our recovery. Those are kind of sidetracks. The main gist of this is all going to be recovery and spirituality. I guess I don't really need to mention spirituality separately. My friend Glenn told me one time, Billy, the spiritual part of the program is like the wet part of the ocean. That was quite a while ago, and I've thought about it, and I've never been able to poke a hole in that logic. Anyhow, let's get on to today's topic. Going back in time, probably would have been about 2013. I was inspecting gas utilities, and whenever I was in a residential neighborhood, if somebody's gas equipment was, say it was in some bushes, under a picture window, behind a gate, if it was anywhere that my wandering around and inspecting it might maybe give a homeowner cause for concern, sketch them out, I'd go knock on the door first, hand them a business card, introduce myself. Hey, gas utility contractor, here to inspect your equipment. It's going to just take a couple of minutes. Here's my card. Do want to let you know why I'm on your property so that if you saw me wandering around, you wouldn't be alarmed. Anyway, like I said, just be a couple of moments, and if you have any questions about today's visit, do feel free to reach out to the folks in the office. They'll be able to answer all your questions. Have an excellent day. Easy peasy. And I mean, that nips a lot of problems in the bud. A 45-second interaction can save you 10 minutes of standing talking to a cop. Learned behavior. Anyway, it's a beautiful sunny morning. It's the kind of day that just brings your heart joy to be working outside, okay? It's gorgeous, it's warm, it's sunny, the sky is bright blue. It's just a perfect day. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going along, making good progress, being productive, hitting the numbers, making the office happy. Life's good. As I'm going down the street, I'm working my way down. I see there's a meter set. It's in the bushes, right in these bushes in front of a giant picture window on the front of this house. I thought, well, that's the door I'm going to knock, because if someone sees you out fumbling around in the bushes, messing around with something right in front of this giant picture window, it's going to look sketch to somebody who doesn't know what's going on. So I'll go up, knock on the door, gas utility contractor, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, when the door opens, it's a guy who, apart from being pretty significantly overweight, would kind of fit my description. Mid-50s, balding, needed a shave pretty badly, wearing a white wife beater and some gray sweats. When that door opened, I was hit with a blast, and it was like opening the door to a furnace. I was hit by a blast of emotion and smell, and neither of which was good. When that door opened and I saw that guy, immediately there was just like an energy or an aura or whatever that came off this guy of loneliness, deep loneliness, isolation, a real, that just desperate longing for human contact. I think a lot of us come into the rooms and we know what the hell loneliness is from personal experience. And if we've been in the rooms a while, we're going to interact with someone who projects that energy really strongly. It's going to happen. I seem to be one of those folks that someone else's energy seems to hit me, and a lot of the times I'll really kind of feel it. I'm just one of those folks that stuff can kind of get to me, right? And this guy was that like just bone deep longing for wanting anybody to talk to about anything. It was beating on me, like I could almost physically feel it, like you can feel the sun shining on you and you can tell where it is with your eyes closed. The other thing that hit me that was just as disconcerting and unpleasant for me was the smell of stale urine, and not a little. I mean, we're talking bad Scottish pay toilet level of old rank piss. And taking a step back, and I literally took a couple of steps back when this guy opened the door. Both his aura and his aroma kind of had me backpedal a little, right? Taking a step back and surveying him, I could see the cause of the smell, or at least one of them. If you've ever worked out in the sun on a hot summer day wearing a baseball hat, and then you let it dry, you sweat in the hat and you get that ring of sweat, and then it dries and the salts from your sweat leave a ring, and especially right at the edge of the sweat. Well, this guy had piss rings in his sweatpants, and not just one or two. I mean a bunch. He'd been urinating in these pants and letting it dry. Now, I don't know if he's taking them off and pissing on them, or I'm presuming that he's just wearing them and letting them dry while he wears them. I don't know. I didn't ask. I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss, and I want to stay a happy man. But he had a bunch of these piss rings on the front of his sweats. And he wanted to chat. I'm a sensitive person. I don't like to be hurtful to people. I don't enjoy it. It's not to say I can't do it. And, unless somebody is being offensive to me. Unless they're trying to screw with me, I really hesitant to try and say anything hurtful or unpleasant. And a lot of the time, if someone really wanted to chat, I might spend a minute or two. Man, I ejected from this conversation as quickly as I possibly could. Hey, sorry to cut you off, sir. I hate to be impolite, but office is waiting on me to get all the inspections on this street done. True enough, they actually were. They're always waiting to get all the inspection reports back. Come on, it ain't rocket surgery. We're inspecting gas meters and valves and crap. Anyway, they're waiting on me to get all these inspections on the street done. I am on a time limit with this, so I need to get this one knocked out and get this block done as quick as I can. Do go ahead and call the office if you have any questions about today's visit. I wish you an excellent day, sir. And I went over, did the inspection on that meter set in his bushes, hightailed it out to the roadside, tapping on the inspection report in my phone, just praying this guy didn't want to come out and chat. Because both his vibe and the smell, equal parts were sketching me out. I'm going to tell you, this interaction put a mood on me, man. It put me just in a weird headspace, and I couldn't shake it. Gorgeous day, everything going well. I was doing a job I was familiar with. I did it reasonably well. It was a gorgeous day. There were no problems whatsoever, and man, I couldn't shake this feeling. All day long, I went home, cleaned up, went to a 7:30 meeting, and it was a pretty good meeting. It was one I went to commonly. Probably 30, 40 people there. That's a lot of positive energy, and it's been my experience. If you kind of, feeling a little ambivalent about stuff, or you're just kind of in a weird spot, there's a lot of positive energy, and that can help bust you out of it. And I went home, and I couldn't shake that feeling. And for the next day or two, it stayed with me. So what's up? And then after, a couple of days or so, it hit me. It hit me what it was that was bothering me so much. I mean, it wasn't that the guy was unfriendly. He was friendlier than I wanted him to be. He wanted to chat. No, it's that I realized, and sidebar, this is kind of before I got into the metaphysics game, I didn't really think of it so much in these terms, but what became clear to me is the universe has put this guy here in front of me as a mirror, and there is some aspect of myself that I am to look at and interact with. And this is why this is bringing me the level of unease that it is. Obviously, I'm not pissing in my pants. And God help me if I did, they would go in the laundry immediately. I would shower and put on fresh clothing and not repeat the mistake. So we're not talking about this in a literal level, but on an energetic level, on a larger scale, getting the 10,000 foot view of this. It made me examine, here's this guy who's unsettling to me, and what he's doing is he's engaging in a behavior, and he's oblivious to the fact that it is getting in the way of what he wants. And I could plainly see this guy was sorely wanting human contact. Well, my God, nobody wants to hang out and chat with you when you smell like a friggin' stockyard, man. And when I realized, okay, This is the universe showing me someone doing something akin to something I'm doing somehow. And then this guy is basically stepping on his tallywhack here. He wants something, but what he's doing, the program he's got working, is really counterproductive to him getting what he wants out of life. And as soon as I came to that realization, the mood lifted. Because now I had a definition of the problem, figure out where am I doing something that is off-putting to people, or maybe bigger picture than that, where am I doing something that is counterproductive to me, achieving a goal or reaching a desire, whatever. So I had some work to do, but then I understood the nature of the task ahead of me to some degree, and then we left it. So why do I bring this story up? Why do I start this channel out with this story? I mean, it's an unusual story, maybe, and there may be some value in it, but it seems an odd choice. Well, here's the reason. Like I said, a lot of my story revolves around mistakes made and lessons learned. I got clean back 1988. Reagan administration, Nancy Reagan saying, just say no. I had a lot of opportunities. I had trajectories that did not involve me being here in the sleeper of a freight liner for a living, being away from home a lot. It isn't what I thought I wanted to do. And I'm not saying that to feel sorry for myself. But I lost a couple of careers because of anger. I made a lot of bad decisions. I made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of this was because, number one, I had some beliefs that worked poorly for me. Number two, I was really full of myself, and I didn't listen to people well. And a large part of what I'm going to talk about in this channel is things that don't make me look good and sound good. There's an established way in the rooms that you can look good and sound good. You talk about the pain, the powerlessness of back in the day what you're using. You can, especially in an AA meeting, you can talk about the mental compulsion to drink, and then the physical allergic reaction once you start drinking. Mental obsession and phenomenon of craving are catchphrases that work well. You can dig a few phrases out of conference-approved literature. You can make reference to page numbers. Powerlessness. Hey man, untreated alcoholism, page 52, doesn't say anything about actively drinking, but it's a description of active alcoholism. That's true. So you can do all these tricks and then follow up with, I worked the steps and my life got a lot better and my life is a miracle now. And all of those things will be true. But you can shine on mistakes that you've made. You're going to look good and sound good, man, and you're going to get positive feedback. I did that. And that positive feedback, we call doing this correctly carrying the message and not the mess. And that's an excellent concept. And I recommend people do exactly that. Here's the problem. Every once in a while, you'll get some jabroni, like me, who gets so wrapped up in carry the message, not the mess, that they take that really good idea, that really good concept, and they abuse it. I would not lie about how bad it wasn't the problem, but I would really disclose in full detail exactly how bad it was at the worst of times. And then I talk about my life being incredibly incredibly better, which it was, because life can be pretty poor but still be incredibly better than active addiction, you know? That's like, you know, being in a jail cell isn't good, but being safe, warm, and dry in a jail cell is so much better than being eaten alive by piranhas. But I would gloss over and then later on omit pain points in my recovery. And I went from legitimately carrying the message and not the mess to just talking to look good and sound good. Okay, so why belabor this point? Because sometimes, not often, but sometimes I hear people say things, and it sounds to me like they're thinking what I used to think or doing what I used to do. And if I'm right, they're probably going to get what I used to get. And in my case, it wasn't good. So I tell some of these stories that don't make me look good and don't sound good, basically because it can really be of service to a percentage, just a small group of people in the rooms. Not all. Hopefully it'll catch a few folks, head them off at the pass, and they won't do the silly things I've done, or think or say the silly things I've thought or said. With that, we have a 4-part series on mistakes made and lessons learned coming up. That's going to be some fun ones. You're going to get to see what a spiritual guru I am, what an expert on recovery I am, how dialed in at self-reflection I have been. You know, but really, I tell these stories because they're the story that I have to tell. We all know how to get to the dope house. We all know how to get to the bar. Okay? You don't need to hear me or anybody else tell you how to pick up. But maybe someone out there will benefit if I tell them how you just don't step on your own tallywhacker while you're staying sober. Anyway, with all that said, wherever you are, I hope you're safe, well, and happy. And until next time, see you out on the road.